Attacking. It's what you need to do to beat a Pokemon game, right? Wrong. Because we're going to try to beat Pokemon Gold and Silver without ever using an attacking move. So, in case you're curious, what the heck does that mean? Let me clarify. In Pokemon games, there are two categories of moves: attacking moves and status moves. In this run, we are only allowed to use status moves for the entire run, and yet, somehow, I'm going to go and try and beat Red. Is this possible? I actually don't know. You see, in later generations, typically runs are more difficult because the AI is better. But there are way more status moves. There aren't that many we have access to. Is it going to be enough? Let's find out. Now, a very important decision is which starter are we going to pick. None of them have great status moves in this game, but Chikorita has the best, so we're going to pick it. Despite the fact it isn't a great matchup against Falkner. But before we can even beat Falkner, we need to defeat youngster Mikey, who blocks the way with his Pidgey and Rattata. How in the world are we gonna win? We don't even have a Pokemon with a status move right now. Don't worry, I had an idea. I'm gonna head to Route 46 and catch a bunch of Geodude. Because we're playing Crystal version and it's nighttime, we can actually catch a Poliwag on Route 30, which is going to be helpful since it knows Hypnosis. But the linchpin of this team in the early game is actually going to be Zubat, which can also be caught on Route 30. Now, leveling this thing up is going to be a pain. What we need to do is find a Pokemon, have it use up all its moves, and then it will knock itself out with struggle. That's a big reason we have Geodude. Now, if you played Gold and Silver, you might be thinking just find a Metapod. However, in this game, the easiest Pokemon is Zubat, since Leech Life only has 15 power points, and it isn't very strong. So we just do a bunch of swapping in and out. We try to allow as many Pokemon to faint as possible, so that Zubat gains as much experience points as possible. I actually end up switching to Poliwag because they give more experience points, and I found it a little easier. But once Zubat finally hits level 6, we learn Supersonic. At increased speed, which is roughly 4 times, this took 45 minutes or thereabouts. Thankfully, it doesn't take nearly as long to beat youngster Mikey, although we do need quite a bit of luck. The best way to go about doing this is to lead with a Pokemon like Rattata and go for Tail Whip. This way, it only takes 1 or 2 hits in confusion for the Pokemon to knock themselves out. Unfortunately, Supersonic only has a 55% chance to hit, and then it's a 50-50 chance it hits itself in confusion, and depending on how many Tail Whips you used, it could be a 2-3 hit KO, so it's just really luck-based, and you just kind of have to try again and again until it works. Thankfully, it only took 3 attempts, and thankfully, there are no more mandatory trainers we have to battle, so whoever we battle from here on in, we can choose who they are, and we can make the perfect strategy to defeat them. Because it's nighttime, we can make our way to Sprout Tower, and there's another Pokemon that you might think would be very helpful, and you'd be right. Ghastly. Ghastly is amazing for many reasons. It knows Hypnosis, it's going to learn Spite, Confuse Ray, Curse, and it's immune to normal moves. So that's a very easy way to waste a bunch of power points if we need to rely on the reverse struggle strategy. We're not done with team building though. I would like another rock Pokemon that is even stronger defensively than Geodude, Onix. I know it seems like we're building the exact same team from the 0 experience points run, but these Pokemon are very powerful, and it's not like we have a ton of options here. Now, in a lot of these runs, the most difficult part is defeating Birdkeeper Abe and his level 9 Spearow. But Onix, or Rocky, can do a couple things. First off, it knows Screech, and that's 2 defense drops, so we can quarter Spearow's defense. It's also pretty bulky, so it takes many attacks for Spearow to knock us out, which we actually want it to do. Now, we just need some good luck with Zubat. We need to hit Supersonic, and we need it to hit itself in confusion. Unfortunately, if that doesn't happen, you just have to try again. After enough attempts though, Spearow will hit itself in confusion, and it's a 1-hit KO, Zubat gets to level up to level 7, and we can move on. There's one more trainer in this gym, but that trainer only has Pidgey with Tackle, so it's a much, much easier matchup. Thus, I don't see the need to show this battle. Let's just skip ahead to Falkner. It's taken me almost 5 hours of in-game time to make it here, and the strategy is the same. Use Screech. Unfortunately, Mud Slap is going to make Screech miss more and more, so I'm only going to use 2, and now we just send in Zubat and try to get Supersonic and a hit in Confusion. I can swap between Ghastly and Zubat so that Pidgey can't really attack me. I actually made a mistake. I didn't mean to use Hypnosis there. That's just going to waste a little bit of time. But with Onix switched in, Pidgey knocks itself out, and that's useful because we can just keep going for Screech against Pidgeotto. Unfortunately, we don't hit a single time, and that likely means this is going to be a loss, since Rattata is knocked out in one hit by Gust, and I can in vain try to use Supersonic, but Pidgeotto's probably not going to deal very much damage to itself, and yeah. We haven't lost yet, it's only a matter of time, but I'm not going to reset because the experience points are nice. This battle was unbelievably tedious, and it took over 15 attempts. But finally, we get another attempt where we get 2 Screeches on Pidgey, we swap in Zubat, we miss with Supersonic 1, we hit with the second one, Pidgey hits itself in Confusion, we swap into Ghastly, and it knocks itself out, which is good. Now I try to use Hypnosis. The reason is that will allow Rocky to get up hopefully all 3 Screeches. If he can get up all 3 Screeches, Pidgeotto will deal more damage to itself. Unfortunately, Pidgeotto wakes up early, and I do swap out because I want to save Rocky. So I just go for Supersonic. I swap back in Rocky because it is my bulkiest Pokemon, and it tanks the Gust pretty well. We're not getting good luck with Pidgeotto hitting itself in Confusion, so I swap in Zubat. This is in case I need to set up another Supersonic. It does hit itself in Confusion, but as I swap in Rocky, it snaps out of Confusion, so I can swap back in Zubat. I have a Berry equipped. I get hit by Gust, but I do hit with the Supersonic. Had I missed, I had one more opportunity. I swap Rocky back in. Unfortunately, Pidgeotto once again snaps out of Confusion. We need just one more hit, but after swapping back in Zubat, I hit with the Supersonic, which is super clutch, and more clutch still, it knocks itself out on the very next turn. You can see me very excited. I did this live on stream. This had taken an hour and 20 minutes of real time to get from the beginning of the game to here. Actually, I had a failed attempt, so it actually took closer to an hour and 50 minutes. A very, very long time. And a bad sign if this is how long it takes to beat Falkner. But while I did say there were less status moves, the later we get in the game, the more and more status moves will be available to us. And additionally, it will become easier and easier to gain experience points, getting us access to more status moves. So this might be one of the hardest points in the game, hopefully. Unfortunately for now, we still have to rely on lowering defense and supersonic strats, which is really bad. You might be wondering, J-Rose, why not just catch a Caterpie, train it into Butterfree, and use Poison Powder, which would definitely help. The problem would be leveling up Caterpie to Butterfree would take a very long time. While this isn't explicitly a speedrun, I would like to try and go as fast as I possibly can, and I do think the supersonic strats, while annoying and tedious, right now are the best and fastest strats I have. It's taken me almost an hour, and I'm almost ready to battle Bugsy, but there's another major trainer I wanted to try first, and that's Rival 2. I'm a little worried about Bugsy right now, and thought I might have a slightly better matchup against Rival 2. So I'm going to use the same Screech strategy that I used before. I'm not really going to swap out Rocky, because it has many, many turns before it would faint. Unfortunately, Ghastly's getting exceptionally good luck, and so it looks like we're only going to get one Screech, which is less than ideal. I swap in my Ghastly, which has been a useful pivot, which is why it's such a high level. Swapping in Pokemon using Hypnosis to set up Supersonic, that's the safest way of doing things, which isn't what I do here, mind you. But regardless, we are going to use it as a pivot. It's actually going to swap in Zubat, which isn't great, and this is when I realized this probably isn't going to happen. So maybe we'll battle Rival 2 after Bugsy. Alright, so let's battle Bugsy. I'm going to lead with Ghastly. Metapod actually can't damage Ghastly. I'm going to put Metapod to sleep, swap in Rocky, go for Screech. Remember, Rocky can't level up too much or it'll stop obeying us. So level 9 is fine. We use 3 Screeches, swap into Zubat. It goes for Harden, which isn't ideal. It's going to be probably a 4-hit KO. I swap in Ghastly since it can't hurt me. Then I use Hypnosis. I can go and swap Rocky back in order to get rid of its 1 Harden. Might as well. And now I just swap back in Ghastly. It doesn't itself in Confusion. Now it only has 1 more turn till it has to snap out of Confusion, so I swap back in Zubat, but it doesn't snap out right away. It goes for String Shot, so it outspeeds me now, and it takes me a couple turns. Eventually, I do hit it with Supersonic, and a little bit later, it hits itself in Confusion. That's 1 down. Kakuna can't do almost anything to Zubat, so I can just go for Supersonic right away, go into Ghastly, because I would rather Rocky not be poisoned. It snaps out of Confusion, which isn't a big deal. Rocky needs to lower its defense. I mean, you already see where this is going, so I'm just going to speed through this part. And while we knock out Kakuna, let's talk about what I'm actually worried about, Scyther. Scyther has 2 attacking moves. Most of my Pokemon resist Fury Cutter, but if Scyther uses it, it doubles. It starts at base 10 power in this generation, but Scyther has excellent attack, so we really don't want to see that. It also has Quick Attack, which can't damage Ghastly, but can do a lot of damage to Zubat. Alright, well, Rattata gained some experience points, so it's level 4, but I'm just going to let it faint. I'm going to swap in Ghastly. Scyther goes for Leer. It misses with the first 2 Hypnosis, but thankfully it hits, and I've only lost 8 HP. Rocky is poisoned, which really sucks, but we need to get off as many Screeches as possible. We hit with the second one. Unfortunately, by the time we use our second Screech, Scyther has pretty much already knocked us out, which is less than ideal. Hopefully this is enough. Fury Cutter is doing a bunch of damage even to Ghastly. Thankfully, we put it to sleep and Barry restores our HP. Now we need Supersonic to hit. It does hit. I'm going to swap back in Ghastly and just hope. Now, looking back, I probably should have started going for Spite as opposed to Mean Look. Really, I just want to keep Ghastly in because I have nothing else that can tank Scyther's attacks, and if it wakes up, we need to put it right back to sleep. Well, Scyther does wake up, and it hits itself in Confusion, which is good. It does half damage, so I go for Mean Look again, and we get the 1 in 4 chance Scyther hits itself in Confusion 2 turns in a row, and that actually is a first try victory. Very surprised. But I will definitely take it. Now, I battled Rival 2 like 8 times. It wasn't working, so I had to level up my Ghastly. It takes a long time to defeat trainers, but eventually it hit level 16. And at level 16, it learned a move that changes everything. Curse. Curse, this is the way it works for those of you who don't know. I'll show you. I take away half my HP, so having an odd number of HP is better, and every turn, the Pokemon loses a quarter of its maximum HP. Now, if its HP is divisible by 4, it will take 4 turns to knock it out. Otherwise, it can take 5 turns because the damage rounds down. So, for example, if it had 22 HP, Curse would take 5 turns. Not much we can do about that, but just thought I should point it out. So with Curse, was Rival 2 free? No. He swaps in Zubat. I'm surprised the AI can do that. But thankfully, I can use Mean Look. I'm not going to because it's too risky. I'm going to go for a combination of Curse and Supersonic strats. Eventually, we'll have Confuse Ray, which is even better. But like we said, it's a 5-turn knockout for Zubat, but it doesn't wake up, so that's really good. Now, Ghastly goes for Lick. I just confuse it, and then I swap in Rattata, because Ghastly can't actually damage Rattata. Unfortunately, it doesn't hit itself in Confusion a single time, but Rattata is able to safely use Tail Whip, although Spite is slowly but surely getting rid of all my Tail Whips. Eventually, I've got to swap back into Zubat, and I try to hit with Supersonic, and I get the worst luck, not on turn 1, or turn 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6. It takes 7 turns for Supersonic to actually land. Now we swap back in Rattata. Of course it doesn't hit itself in Confusion the first turn, nor the second turn. It does on the third turn, but then it snaps out of confusion, so now we have to start this process all over again. Thankfully, this time we hit on the first turn. I kept Zubat in, but we've made it to Quilava for the first time, which is going to use Ember and knock out Zubat. Now, what I'm going to do is swap in Ghastly. I'm going to try to use Curse right away, and then hopefully Rocky can tank all the Embers, but I don't know if it can. So I'm going to swap into Rattata, and that's what I was hoping. It went for Leer. That's good. Unfortunately, if it knocks out a Pokemon, Curse doesn't activate. It's going to be a 5-turn KO. This is going to be very close. It has almost no HP left, but it knocks out Chikorita, and it's going to knock out Rocky, and we are so close to knocking it out. But at the very least, we gain some experience points, and you can see what the strategy will be going forward. Finally, after 4 more attempts, we actually get a win, and I'm just going to speed through this battle. This time, he swaps into Quilava right away, and this is clutch, because with more Pokemon at our disposal, we can knock out the Quilava much easier. It actually only attacks once with Ember, and I swap in Rattata. Unfortunately, that was a mistake, and yet I still win this one. Can you believe it? Rattata was our linchpin versus Ghastly. This time, what I decide to do is switch in my Ghastly in order to use Hypnosis, then set up Screech with Onix, but he swaps in Zubat. I'm able to put Zubat to sleep, and then I just go for Curse. Now I can swap in Chikorita, surprisingly, go for Growl, and just have Chikorita tank Zubat's attacks, if it attacks at all. It's actually more likely to use Bite now. It's going to be a 2-hit KO, and not even. Chikorita tanks it and levels up 2 levels. Go Chikorita! Now all I have to do is set up Screeches on the Ghastly. Although it can damage Zubat, as we've seen in the last battle, it doesn't do much. It can put me to sleep, which really sucks. But other than that, there's really nothing else it can do. I just have to wake up, hope Supersonic hits. Thankfully, it can't paralyze me. But, as you know, because I already spoiled it, this is the winning battle. It didn't start great, but it ends with Zubat swapping in, hitting with Supersonic, and finally, after it hits itself in confusion, we have beaten Rival 2. Oh my gosh. It's been 20 minutes of video, and we're just making it out of Azalea Town. But to be fair, I do think I have accurately portrayed just how tedious and difficult / lucky this run has been so far. Is it going to get easier though? Well, it's been 10 hours of in-game time, and we're just getting to Whitney now. It's been about 20 minutes of real time. We've leveled up a little bit. We lead with Ghastly, and I try to put Clefairy to sleep. In Metronome's Smokescreen, which thankfully can miss, we do put it to sleep on the second turn. Then we use Curse. We still have an even number of HP, which is bad, but what can you do? Now, what I'm going to do is I think about it, and I swap in Zubat. Clefairy wakes up and gets a Metronome Aeroblast, although it is confused now, which is good. Not that it's hitting itself in confusion, it just hit me with Double Slap. We're going to keep Zubat in. I can't risk anything else losing HP. And Ghastly's going to swap in, put Clefairy to sleep. Unfortunately, its HP does not divide by 4, but it doesn't wake up and we knock it out. Now, I could try to put Miltank to sleep. Rollout didn't knock me out, but I went for Curse. I didn't want to mess around. And now Rocky can tank Rollout, but not forever. The second Rollout is coming close to knocking it out, and the third one will. I swap in Togepi. It's expendable. I then swap in Chikorita. It also didn't matter because that was the 5th turn of Rollout, and now Miltank can't deal enough oh, come on. Well, that's... Oh, its HP is divisible by 4! I win! Okay. Thanks, math! Well, that was something that happened, and it was a first try victory against Whitney. We will take that. Obviously, not an optimal team. I have the odd egg, meaning I had 1 less Pokemon in my party. There were plenty of Pokemon to use. I just wanted to see how the battle would go, not expecting a victory whatsoever. I call these scouting battles. In difficult runs like these, I do them all the time just to kind of get a gauge of how much do I need to level up and what Pokemon would be useful. The answer is we're good, we won. And after defeating Whitney, a large section of the game opens up, and that's going to be pretty helpful. And the best way I can demonstrate just how helpful is to battle Rival 3, because we have some new friends who are going to help us out. The most important is Skiploom. We're going to use Leech Seed on Haunter, which goes for Curse, which is pretty helpful, and then we can swap in Togepi, because Haunter can't actually damage Togepi. It can use Mean Look and Spite, but that's about it, and the Leech Seed knocks it out. Such a useful move. And Togepi gets to go to level 9. So for Magnemite, I would rather Togepi not faint because it did a good job. So I can put Magnemite to sleep, and once again, I can use Leech Seed. I'm going to keep Skiploom in and try to set up some Tail Whips, but I get nervous, and then I just swap in Togepi. Magnemite hits it with Supersonic, so I swap back in Skiploom. I put Magnemite back to sleep, and then I just keep using Tail Whips. Again, the reason for this is I just want to knock Magnemite out, and I'd rather not have to sacrifice any of my other Pokemon, and that's exactly what ends up happening. Next comes out Zubat. I can swap back into Ghastly. It goes for Confuse Ray. Oh my god, can you imagine? We're going to get that pretty soon. I swap in Togepi because it's the only Pokemon I can afford to lose. Well, technically I can afford to lose other Pokemon. I use Curse on Zubat, which is pretty helpful. And now I can swap in my Skiploom. Bite doesn't do that much, and if I put it to sleep, which I do, Zubat is completely helpless. And with Leech Seed and Curse, we knock out Zubat. The last Pokemon is Quilava. I try to put it to sleep, but it outspeeds and goes for Ember. Thankfully, I do put it to sleep. I survive on 1 HP, by the way. And we're going to use Curse Leech Seed strats. So even though we're kind of underleveled, even though we have a horrible matchup against a fire Pokemon, by using Skiploom's Leech Seed, by using Ghastly's Curse, we knock out Rival 3's entire team. Next up on the docket is Morty, the Ghost-type gym leader. Now, we're going to start off by using Togepi, mostly because Ghastly will go for Curse. Then we can swap in Zubat. I really don't want to see Mean Look, but we can use a combination of Supersonic and hopefully it uses Curse again to knock out Ghastly. It only does use Lick, so we have many turns to try and knock it out with Confusion. It will be nice when we actually get Confuse Ray, but eventually Ghastly knocks itself out. The next Pokemon is Haunter. I'm going to swap into my Ghastly. It goes for Nightshade. That's not what I want. I go for Curse. Thankfully, because of how much Nightshade did, I have 1 HP left. I can swap in Togepi. Haunter puts me to sleep, which doesn't really matter since Togepi can't do anything, and Haunter is knocked out via Curse. Okay, the next Pokemon we have to tackle is Gengar. I let Togepi faint, and I hope Ghastly will outspeed, but it doesn't. So I can send in Skiploom, and I can try to put it to sleep. Unfortunately, Gengar puts me to sleep, and there is a Mint Berry. We can get it. It's right outside Moo Moo Farm, and I don't think right now we have a chance. No, we're going to reset. But I don't actually think this will be that bad. Now, I had to battle some trainers to get the Mint Berry, so my Pokemon are at slightly higher levels. We're going to swap in Zubat. It goes for Curse. Now we're going to swap back in Togepi. It's going to go for Lick, and it's going to go for Curse again. Actually, it goes for Mean Look. That's unfortunate. But hey, here's Confuse Ray. Remember I said we'd get that eventually? Now we have it. It doesn't mean Ghastly will hit itself in Confusion more, although it's doing a pretty good job of that. But now at least we can confuse 100% of the time. Anyway, I swap back in Togepi. Haunter goes for Curse. I swap back in Zubat. It tries to use Hypnosis, but it can't because, well, I'm paralyzed. Then I swap back in Togepi. It tries to put it to sleep, so I swap back in Zubat. I hit with Confuse Ray. I swap back in Togepi. Nightshade doesn't hit. I swap back in Zubat because it's going to use Curse or knock itself out, which is great. So now Zubat is level 20. So Zubat being paralyzed is kind of good because Gengar can't put it to sleep. But I do swap in Togepi. It goes for Shadow Ball, and I'm going to go for Charm. This way, Shadow Ball doesn't do as much to Skiploom. It goes for Dream Eater, but it misses. I have the Mint Berry, and now we've hit it with Leech Seed. This was super important. It misses with Hypnosis. We miss with Sleep Powder. Unfortunately, on the next turn, it hits with Hypnosis, but at least I've set the Leech Seed up. So now I have to make a decision. I'm going to swap in Ghastly. It's going to try to put me to sleep, so I'll swap back in Skiploom or use a Shadow Ball. Never mind, I was wrong about that, but that's why we use Charm. Now I swap Togepi back in. Unfortunately, It went for Dream Eater. I should have guessed that. That was my bad. So we gave it a bunch of HP back, but it's okay. So we swap in Ghastly, then Skip Loom. Shadow Ball is doing a little bit more than Leech Seed. It goes for Dream Eater. I swap in Ghastly, go for Skip Loom. Again, we're losing a little bit of HP. I try to go for Sleep Powder, but I get knocked out. Now I do have Bayleaf. Bayleaf gets put to sleep, and I swap back in Ghastly. If I swap back and forth, eventually it'll run out of Dream Eater, and Bayleaf is pretty bulky, so I'm just going to go ahead and do that, and it seems to be working. Bayleaf's special defense fell, which isn't a big deal, and we have knocked out Gengar for the very first time. Now all that's left is Haunter. It goes for Nightshade, we go for Curse, and now I have 3 Pokemon, but they're all fairly weak. It goes for Nightshade, Bayleaf is sleeping, I swap into Rocky, Nightshade, it's losing damage due to Curse, but I think we're going to get knocked out. Yeah, and unfortunately, if we get knocked out, Curse doesn't activate. So very close, but not quite yet. Alright, so we battle Morty one more time. And I'm going to speed through this one because pretty much the exact same thing's going to happen. We have leveled up a bit more, so Togepi now has Sweet Kiss, which is pretty good. I don't mind losing a little bit of health to Curse. That's okay. Ghastly goes for Lick. I'm going to swap in and out. This is going to be super important. Unfortunately, it does hit me with Mean Look, which does suck. But we're able to hit with Supersonic, which actually, I was just trying to waste power points there. And once Haunter swaps in, Mean Look expires, and we can swap back in Togepi. Unfortunately, it does put me to sleep, but it does use Curse. That's good. I can swap back in Zubat here. It uses Curse again, and now I can swap back in Togepi, and it knocks itself out via Curse. Now Gengar comes out, and I'm going to swap in Skip Loom. It goes for Dream Eater, which I anticipated. It misses with Hypnosis, but we do have Mint Berry. Now I've hit with Leech Seed. It goes for Mean Look, and I put it to sleep. So, the good news is, until it wakes up and puts me to sleep, we're fine. The bad news is, it's going to restore a bunch of its HP back. We actually put it right back to sleep, which is really lucky. And it's possible we could just knock it out with Leech Seed. It deals an 8th every turn, and that's exactly what ends up happening. So we get exceptionally good luck after exceptionally bad luck, and now we've put Haunter to sleep and Leech Seed, and now there's really nothing it can do to Togepi. The best thing Haunter can do is Mimic, but since we don't use attacking moves, that doesn't really mean much. It can Mimic now Sweet Kiss. It actually went for Spite, and now that I've gone for Charm, it's not going to Mimic, it's just going to go for Spite. It now just Mimic Charm, never mind. Seems like I don't know what I'm talking about here, but that's okay, because I won. And so winners don't need to know what they're doing. They just need to win. Unfortunately, Morty proved a little more difficult than I anticipated, but hopefully the next few gym leaders are a bit easier. I'm not so sure. It is pretty hard to do this. Now, there's one Pokemon I really wanted to get, but I couldn't get it until after I defeated Morty. On Friday in Union Cave in the basement, you can get a Lapras. Now, Lapras isn't normally seen as a big status Pokemon, but it has some moves that are going to be unbelievably helpful, and I don't think we could win without them. But rather than just tell you, I'm going to show you in the next battle, maybe. I leveled up a bit before I battled Chuck. There are a lot of trainers I haven't battled yet. I'm going to lead with Ghastly. I go for Curse. Primeape can't do much. It just goes for Leer. I think of swapping in Golbat. Our Zubat's a Golbat now, but instead I swap in Lapras. And for Lapras, I actually just wanted to use a fighting move, but it didn't bite and it just went for Leer again. And so I'm just going to put Primeape to sleep. And now I'm going to swap Lapras in for Poliwrath. My idea being hopefully it misses with Dynamic Punch and then I could put it to sleep with Sing maybe. Didn't end up happening because Dynamic Punch hit first turn. Next I use Skiploom. Now I'm going to use Leech Seed. It goes for Mind Reader. I use Poison Powder, so it's both poisoned. That is 1/4 of its health every turn. It misses with Dynamic Punch. Well, it doesn't miss. It can't affect Ghastly. And then I go for Curse. It does no Surf. Then I send out Smeargle, simply so it uses Dynamic Punch, but Golbat double resists, and with Curse, Leech Seed, and Poison, that is 1/2 of its max HP every single turn, and so Golbat will get the experience points. The real reason I wanted Lapras out there was to gain it some experience points, because remember that strategy I just talked about? Doesn't know the moves quite yet, but once we get them, you'll know, and we'll start incorporating it into our strategy. But for now, Leech Seed, Poison, Confusion, Curse, we have quite a few options. No entry hazards. That would be something we would do in later games if we ever did this challenge again, but I'm very happy with how it's going. Now, I probably should go battle Team Rocket, but I'm going to try Jasmine just to see how easy or difficult she would be. So I use Leech Seed on Magnemite, and then I try to put it to sleep. I am successful. I can't poison it. I could theoretically swap in Ghastly if I wanted to, or I could swap in Bayleaf because it does resist. I set up Reflect. That would be more helpful versus Steelix, but I'm just going to leave Bayleaf out here because what's going to happen is it's going to go, I thought it went for Sonic Boom, but it's going to go for Supersonic. Actually, it does go for Thunderbolt. Look at that. And it knocks out Bayleaf. I wasn't expecting that. Okay. Whoa, and it does a ton of damage to Skiploom. Okay. Oh, and I missed with Leech Seed. Okay, that's cool. So now I'm going to use Curse. Iron Tail misses. It's got a pretty significant chance, 30% to miss. I'm going to try putting it to sleep. It is successful. It's going to be a 5-turn KO. I'm going to swap into Smeargle. Why? Because Smeargle has Leech Seed. Yeah, Smeargle is pretty useful with its ability to sketch any move you want. Sorry, I'll talk about that in just a second. We haven't seen Smeargle yet, but Magnemite's going to knock us out in one hit. Unfortunately now, all our Pokemon are pretty weak to Thunderbolt. Ghastly misses, and so Lapras can use Sing. It misses. And then Golbat can use Confuse Ray, but although it hits... Oh, and it hits itself in Confusion. There's a chance. Oh, maybe. Okay, half health? No. Very close, but some unclutch misses. Let's just try this again. All right, so this time around, we're going to try to put Magnemite to sleep first. We're successful. We're going to go for Leech Seed. I use Tail Whip because now if I go for Supersonic strats, it'll do more damage. It goes for Thunder Wave and misses. I'm able to put it back to sleep. That's another advantage of keeping Skiploom in. And I'm just going to keep going for Tail Whip. I really want to be able to put it back to sleep. Sleep isn't as overpowered as it is in Generation 1, but we are going to knock out the Magnemite, and it went for Supersonic, so no damage. That is unbelievably lucky. We also put Steelix right to sleep. We hit with Leech Seed. That's pretty good. Now, this time around, I am going to switch Pokemon, but to an offensive Pokemon, technically. The closest we have to a powerful move is Curse, and thankfully Steelix is still snoozing. So that is 3/8 every single turn. Not bad. Now we're going to swap back in Skiploom. Thankfully, it misses with Iron Tail. And I do know Jasmine does have Hyper Potions. I'm not surprised by what just happened. And I can swap into Ghastly once again. The reason for that, I don't know. I just don't want Skiploom to faint, and Ghastly isn't that useful. But we don't take any damage. And now we try to put Magnemite to sleep. It doesn't work. Thankfully, it does on the second attempt. We hit with Leech Seed, and we can swap back in Ghastly. So probably should have swapped into Lapras before. Anyway, we go for Curse. Like before, 3/8 every single turn. I swap back in Skiploom. We are one turn away from victory, and I just used Tail Whip. Skiploom gets... No! Okay, well, now it's not going to work. Now I got to swap in Bayleaf, but that will work. So Bayleaf gains some experience points. I was actually trying to level up Skiploom because now we have Jump Love, and I was trying to level up Ghastly because now we have Haunter. Very, very useful Pokemon to get because they're bulkier and faster, and that's more helpful. All right, I'm going to do the Team Rocket section and then battle Price, who typically is easier than the other two. I did battle all the Team Rocket grunts in the hideout, and so my Pokemon are at higher levels. That takes forever to do. Anyway, we lead with Lapras. Still doesn't have the move I want, but it's pretty strong against Seal. I try to put it to sleep. Eventually I do, and then I can use Confuse Ray. That's pretty good. Now, the rest of my team doesn't have a great matchup versus Seal, so I'm going to swap in Smeargle and go for Leech Seed, and you can see Icy Wind didn't do too much damage. I'm now just going to swap in Lapras, just because it walls Seal pretty darn well. I can put it back to sleep with Sing, and now I can just kind of let Leech Seed slowly knock out Seal, and I'm just going to fast forward this a bit. It does go for Rest, however, and that's pretty annoying, but when it uses Rest, I'm able to swap in Haunter, since I know how many turns it's going to be asleep. With Leech Seed, that gives me another opportunity to use Curse later, and I can use Mean Look just in case there's swap out strats in play, which I don't think there are going to be. Unfortunately, the math just didn't work for me that time, and so Seal heals again, but now I'm going to use Spite, try to eliminate Rest, but the math is going to work out and Seal gets knocked out. Haunter's at full HP, I can go for Curse, Dugong goes for Aurora Beam, and I survive on 6 HP, meaning I can use Curse against Piloswine, goes for Aurora Beam against Lapras. Just like last time, we're going to try to put it to sleep. It's going to survive on 1 HP, and because I put it to sleep, it can't use Rest, so we knock out Dugong rather quickly. Now we have Piloswine, I put it to sleep. I'm going to swap immediately into Haunter just because I don't want it to wake up. I'm going to use Curse. Haunter knocks itself out, I swap back into Lapras, confuse the Piloswine. It's going to be a 5-hit KO, it looks like. I'm just going to use Mist, and thankfully it hits itself in Confusion, so it might be a less than 5-hit KO. This time, Price does heal with a Hyper Potion. I'm going to swap in Smeargle. I'm going to try to help out with a Leech Seed here. It's still the only move the Smeargle knows, but trust me, it'll learn more before we're done. And now Piloswine is sufficiently weak for Leech Seed Curse to knock it out. And that was a fairly easy battle and a first try victory. Not bad at all. Now, there are a ton of tedious battles, and the biggest problem with this challenge is that we're not doing a boss rush. All the standard NPC trainers take just about as long as the gym leaders. They're just not as difficult, but they're still really tedious, really adding up to just how long this challenge took. So we're going to have to fast forward a lot of real time to get to the next major battle with Claire. I know there's a battle with the rival, but this video is already going to be pretty long, and you've already seen him a couple times. It's just not terribly interesting. To that end, an hour and 20 minutes of real time has passed before I battle Claire. I'm going to lead with Haunter, and you can see it's underleveled. We do survive Surf, but part of the reason it's so underleveled is just because how tedious it is to level everything up. Now, Lapras does have the move I want, but I'm not going to use it yet. Instead, I'm just going to allow Curse to knock out Dragonair. Thankfully, its HP is a multiple of 4, and Bayleaf will get some experience points and will get Synthesis. I can just delete Reflect, not that it matters because Bayleaf just got knocked out. Now, I'm going to swap in Lapras. It goes for Dragon Breath. I am able to put it to sleep. I can confuse it, and now I've got to swap in Jumpluff. This is a little risky, but got to set up Leech Seed. I can theoretically swap in Haunter. Instead, I'm going to swap Lapras back in, try to get a little more HP. Swap in Haunter, try to get a little more HP. Swap in Lapras, try to get a little more HP. It goes for Ice Beam, so we're actually net positive. And now I got to think about it. I try to put it to sleep, but it outspeeds in Dragon Breath and it knocks me out. Ice Beam doesn't knock out Smeargle, but I can't really do anything. I still haven't taught another move yet. So it's going to knock out Smeargle. We do have a Crobat now. That took a little bit of time, and Confuse Ray really helped me out here. We actually knock out the second Dragonair. Now out comes the third Dragonair, which hits itself in Confusion. I go for Haunter. Theoretically, I can just go for Curse and knock it out, but instead, I'm going to go for Hypnosis, and I'm going to swap into Jumpluff to get some Leech Seed damage, because I'd like to use Curse against Kingdra, arguably the scariest Pokemon. So in order to do that, I need to be at half HP. I'm actually quite close, but I am worried about Haunter being knocked out, and good thing because Dragonair wakes up. I mean to put Dragonair back to sleep, and I misclick, so I'm now paralyzed by Thunder Wave. It goes for Thunderbolt, but then Leech Seed knocks it out. Kingdra goes for Smokescreen, it outspeeds, and thus I miss with Sleep Powder, which would have been clutch. Then it goes for Surf, which doesn't do all that much, and I hit with Leech Seed, that was clutch, but then it goes for Hyper Beam. So I have 2 Pokemon left. I'm going to try to put Kingdra to sleep, and I do. I have over half HP, so I can go for Curse. And now I'm just going to use Spite. Because Kingdra's asleep, the move fails. It's losing its HP. It's actually only 1 turn away from losing, but Claire heals. So we got to start the process kind of all over again. She then uses a full heal to wake up Kingdra. It goes for Surf and knocks out Haunter, and it's all up to Crobat. We go for Confuse Ray. Surf hits, but it doesn't knock me out. And I surprisingly, with underleveled status-only Pokemon, get a first try victory against Claire. If that sounded chaotic and like I didn't know what I was doing, it's because it was chaotic and I had no idea what I was doing. But while we could get away with beating Claire with underleveled Pokemon using only status moves, that's just not going to fly for the Elite Four. Now, truth be told, years ago, before I even started doing YouTube, I tried this challenge, I believe in Gold and Silver, and I stopped at the Elite Four just because of how frustrated I was. So I knew full well the Elite Four wasn't going to be fun. But now, as someone who has beaten the game with Magikarp, Feebas, without taking damage, and without experience points, hopefully I can use the knowledge I gained to make this run not so difficult or tedious that I just give up again. But there's only one way to find out if that's going to be true. Well, as it would turn out, it is going to be tedious. You see, I did have an idea of how I want to beat the Elite Four, but I need to level up a lot more. The quickest way to do that consistently was just to battle Will again and again and again. You can see I'm using an Execute. It's not as if I need these Pokemon be at an unreasonably high level, but I need them to be able to survive 1 or 2 hits depending on the battle. Battling wild Pokemon takes just as long as it does to battle these Pokemon, and they give more experience points, and there's always the chance we could fluke our way to a victory. Surprisingly, the breakthrough only takes 12 minutes. Here's how it happened. So we lead with Jumpluff, and it outspeeds and puts the first Xatu to sleep. Leech Seed, you've already seen this, but now we use Cotton Spore. It confuses us, but we can swap into Lapras. Psychic does a lot to Lapras, but not a ton, and after 2 Leech Seeds, we're pretty much at full health. Now we can swap into Exeggutor, and in theory, it should have been able to tank Psychic, but I guess it was a range. So that really stinks. You can see me here pausing, being like, should I reset? But I don't. Use Conspore again, and just try to let Jumpluff knock out the Xatu. Now I'm going to swap back into Lapras. It goes for Confuse Ray. I gain a little bit more HP, and that also manipulates Jinx to come out next. Now Jinx goes for Lovely Kiss. That's annoying, and I just let it knock out Smeargle. Doesn't look like the battle's going too well. Jumpluff is risky. I do put it to sleep and hit with Leech Seed, and now I can swap into Lapras. Jinx does have Psychic, so it's not like this is the super safest Pokemon to use, but I can confuse it. Lapras can try to put it to sleep on every single turn. It is only a 50-50 chance to hit with Sing, but we do. And now I'll just spam Confuse Ray, and I'll swap into Jumpluff to manipulate the next Pokemon to come out, which is going to be Xatu number 2. We outspeed, but we don't put it to sleep. It confuses me, so I have to swap in Crobat, which is just there to tank Psychic. Now Xatu does get put to sleep, and we hit with Leech Seed, and now we're going to go back to Cotton Spore strats, because Xatu can't knock out Jumpluff, and Jumpluff can put it to sleep a lot easier than Lapras can. If we're confused though, we swap back into Lapras. Psychic does a lot, but thankfully, we're able to put it to sleep. Max Potion does suck, but we're able to confuse it. And after getting a little more HP back, I swap into Jumpluff. Like before, Jumpluff is the better Pokemon just because Sleep Powder is a lot more accurate than Sing. Cotton Spore is just a waste time. It has a ton of power points. Not sure if Will is going to heal again, but he does wake up, hit with Psychic. It does over half, not after Leech Seed, but thankfully we're able to put it to sleep. It's on 1 HP, and it's knocked out. Now there are just 2 Pokemon left. Thankfully, Slowbro is pretty slow, and I am going to speed through this part of the battle because you've pretty much already seen what we're going to do here. There is one exception, however. I am actually going to mix in Haunter. Because we're so close to the end of the battle, I don't really care if Haunter gets knocked out, because if Lapras survives, then we just use Perish Song against Exeggutor. In 3 turns, Exeggutor will faint, and as long as I have 1 Pokemon remaining, I win. Now, there are some important things to note here. First off, the AI will automatically switch out if it can on the last turn of Perish Song. The only exception is if either you use Mean Look, which we have, or it's the last Pokemon, which is why we don't use Perish Song every single time. If we had a Gengar that was really bulky, maybe we could get away with it. However, with just a level 34 Haunter, it's not enough, and it's just going to knock out Haunter, and once Haunter is knocked out, the Mean Look fails. Now we're going to repeat the same process for Koga, trying to gain more experience points. I'm going to lead with Jumpluff. I'm going to use Sleep Powder. I'm going to use Leech Seed. And yeah, I mean, unfortunately, at this point, there isn't a ton of variety to the strategy. We're going to mix in Haunter to speed things up. And because Ariados just knows Giga Drain, I'm not too worried about it actually attacking Haunter. And I'm going to swap in Smeargle just to gain it a little bit more experience. Next comes out Venomoth. I still only know Leech Seed. I actually go for Sketch just because why not? And it knocks it out with Psychic, which is what I was expecting. So we put Venomoth to sleep. We use Leech Seed. So far we're getting pretty good luck with that. And I can use Cotton Spore. I don't think Venomoth can do all that much, but I then worry it has Sludge Bomb. I wasn't sure. So I'm going to swap in Lapras. It is insanely bulky. Unfortunately, it's in the slow level up group, so it's taking forever for it to gain experience points. I swap in Executor, and Executor does no Reflect, which is really good because that's going to have the physical damage. And so when Fortress comes out, I miss with Hypnosis. I miss again, but all the while, Swift is doing nothing. I'm able to hit with Leech Seed, and then it knocks out Executor. That's okay. The next Pokemon I swap in is Haunter. I go for Hypnosis, but it uses Protect. Then I go for Curse. Fun fact, Fortress can't actually do anything to Haunter. Its only attacking move is Swift, and then Explosion, both of which are normal type moves. So it's just going to use Protect and waste my time. That's not a big deal. So Muck comes out next. It also can't do all that much to Haunter. So I'm just going to go for Curse. Unfortunately, there is no Leech Seed. I could let Haunter faint here, but I'm going to be a little risky and swap into Jumpluff. I can go for Leech Seed, and that will actually knock it out in combination with Curse. Crobat comes out, not a good matchup for Jumpluff. It goes for Double Team. I miss with Sleep Powder. It goes for Wing Attack. This seems familiar. And I hit with Leech Seed. A pattern is emerging. Now I'm going to swap in Lapras. I get hit by Spikes. Wing Attack does a lot of damage, but as it goes for Toxic, this is Koga's last Pokemon, so I can go for Perish Song. There's only 2 turns left, and that's all I need to do is survive for just 2 turns. I'm going to go for Sing. Wing Attack does decent damage. I miss with Sing, but there's nothing Crobat can do. I'm going to sacrifice Lapras. Well, actually, it gets knocked out due to poison. Nonetheless, that is a first try victory against new Bruno, aka Koga. And now we have to face old Bruno. Again, I'm actually just doing this to gain experience points. I have no illusion I'm going to beat Lance. It is kind of crazy that if we beat Will, there's a solid chance we beat Koga. Obviously, the question now becomes, what about Bruno? Is he going to be as easy as Koga? The answer? Well, there's only one way to find out. Hitmontop only knows Quick Attack and Dig, so Jumpluff has a really good matchup. Quick Attack only does 15 damage. We're actually running out of power points here, and thus I'm going to swap in Smeargle to use Leech Seed. Now I can swap Jumpluff back in, gain some HP back, and I can use Cotton Spore, which remember, we have a lot of power points. Now, instead of going for Sleep Powder, because how much Leech Seed is doing, I'm going to go for Poison Powder and just knock out Hitmontop quickly. I'm going to then go for Cotton Spore and swap in Haunter just so that I don't lose more HP. Next comes out Onix. It knows Earthquake, so I gotta be kind of careful here. Crobat really isn't that important anymore, but I think about it and decide, let's just go for Curse, it'll be fine. So I can swap Jumpluff back in, put Onix to sleep, and now I can swap Smeargle back in. It gets hit by Rock Slide as Onix wakes up. It gets outsped, but thankfully Bind misses, and I do hit once again with the Leech Seed, and that's going to knock out Onix when I send Jumpluff back in. Now, Hitmonchan has Ice Punch, but I'm going to just try to put it to sleep. Thankfully, I'm successful. We swap Smeargle back in. I go for Leech Seed, and now I need to find something better to swap into. I'm just going to swap into Jumpluff for now. It knows Mach Punch and the Elemental Punches. I'm going to swap Smeargle back in just because if it doesn't wake up, I can swap Crobat and it can tank Mach Punch. So that was the idea. I can then confuse Hitmonchan. It goes for Ice Punch, and I'm just going to go for Supersonic and keep Crobat in. If it attacks every other turn, actually, we got really good luck. We have 92 HP. Now, Machamp does know Rock Slide. It hits itself in Confusion the first turn. I'm going to send out the Jumpluff, and I get hit by Rock Slide. I knew it wouldn't knock me out. I hit with Leech Seed. I'm knocked out now, but I can swap an Executor. I could, well, unfortunately got hit with Cross Chop. Didn't expect that. Now, actually, it's kind of scary. Crobat resists Cross Chop, but is weak to Rock Slide. I can swap Smeargle back in, and I can gain a little bit of HP back, and then I can just swap in Crobat, try to manipulate Machamp to use worse moves. It does hit with Rock Slide. It knocks out Smeargle, And then it goes for max potion. So this is really, really bad. I can swap Lapras in, unfortunately get hit with Rock Slide. Now Sing has to hit, but Machamp outspeeds, and I think we're going to lose to Bruno. We only have Crobat left. We need exceptional luck. Although, if it hits its Something Confusion one more time, maybe it doesn't even need to? Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, how many misses? We still have Hitmonlee, though. We still have Hitmonlee. We're not out of the woods yet, but Hitmonlee only has fighting moves. And as we can see, if it hits its Something Confusion 4 times, we're gonna win. I'm just going for Supersonic, wasting time. High Jump Kick barely does anything, and it looks like Crobat. I streamed this. Look at my expression. AJ, you gotta show them. That is the reaction of a man who did not expect to win this battle whatsoever. So we have made it to Karen. Again, these actually are to just gain experience points, but at least we know the general strategies we can use and the pathways to victory. But that is now 2 consecutive first try victories. Karen, though, could be pretty difficult. Karen leads with Umbreon. I lead with Smeargle, who's only at half health because I've run out of potions. So that's kind of bad. I also don't want to commit to this run, so I'm not using any PowerPoint restoring items because those are single use only and they don't respawn. So I put it to sleep and then I swap in Executor since its Leech Seed, well, has tons of power points. Now I can swap in anything I really want. I decide Jumpluff makes the most sense, and I'm just going to go for Cotton Spore. This is going to take a really long time, but Feint Attack doesn't do all that much. I actually misclick, and then it confuses me, so I got to swap out. I'll swap into Lapras just because Lapras is pretty tanky, and then I'll swap back into Jumpluff. It goes for Sand Attack. I can put it to sleep, but instead I just poison it, which doesn't matter. It's going to be knocked out by the Leech Seed. So now comes Houndoom. Houndoom, I don't have a good Pokemon to use. So I have to think about what I want to sacrifice. Unless I outspeed and put it to sleep. Didn't think that would work. I use my final Leech Seed. Unfortunately, it misses. Finally, luck catches up to us. I swap in Haunter and decide, all right, let's go for Curse. Unfortunately, Houndoom wakes up and I think we lost. So it goes for Flamethrower. It burns Lapras. I don't get the Sing. So we can maybe put it to sleep. Nope, we are out of that. So I can go for Cotton Spore. And now at the very least, maybe Executor will outspeed. I doubt it. And it doesn't. So now all we have left is Crobat. And this time, I don't think Crobat can win. We also have run out of Confuse Ray. We actually need to lose before we run out of non-attacking moves, because that would result in a loss for this challenge. So we only have 9 turns left, and Houndoom's actually hitting itself in Confusion every single turn. Holy mackerel. But Karen uses the Max Potion, uses Pursuit. And so we got all the way to Karen, just 12 minutes into our Elite Four journey. But I have a feeling it's going to take a pretty long time to get back there, and an even longer time to beat Karen. Half an hour later, I've made it back to Karen, but this is actually my very next attempt. I just battled more trainers I've skipped in order to level up a little bit more. Now, the strategy for Umbreon is pretty much the same, but I have more power points. My Pokemon are also at higher levels, and this is going to help tremendously, because now each attack deals less damage, meaning I can use more Pokemon to swap in. It also means I don't have to rely on sleep as much and can go for Poison Powder early. So Umbreon gets knocked out, Lapras is at 115, Vileplume comes out next. I can swap in Crobat and try to confuse the Vileplume. Vileplume can't do very much to Crobat, and now I'm going to swap back into Jumpluff. It can hurt Jumpluff, so I swap into Haunter. It goes for Acid, and then I put it to sleep. The Jumpluff was kind of a mistake. I then go for Curse. I can't use Leech Seed because it is Grass type. I swap in Jumpluff just in case it goes for Petal Dance. I use Cotton Spore. Unfortunately, it goes for Stun Spore, which does work against Grass types, as does Sleep Powder, and we knock out Vileplume. But now out comes Houndoom. Since I'm paralyzed, I think about sacrificing Jumpluff. In the end, it's Executor that I sacrifice. It gets knocked out with Flamethrower. It's only level 25. Then I send in Haunter. It gets knocked out. I was hoping Haunter would outspeed. I then try to send in Smeargle that has Quick Claw Destiny Bond. That doesn't work. Lapras, I try to put it to sleep with Sing. That doesn't work. And now the battle is over. But I'm not going to reset I do want those experience points, so I'm just going to let all my Pokemon get knocked out. Whoops, force a habit there, but not that big a deal. Now it's at this point I start to hit a wall. I have many more attempts against the Elite Four, and none of them result in me even getting back to Karen. As I suspected, a lot of the battles I got a lot of good luck, and not a lot of bad luck, which I guess is just good luck. The point I'm making is, I knew this would be tedious, and so we're just leveling up a whole bunch, but nothing new or interesting is really happening here. It takes me a really long time to get back to Karen, and unfortunately, once again, the sticking point seems to be Houndoom. Once it comes out, it just knocks out my entire team. It's fast, it hits hard, and I just have a terrible, terrible matchup, considering my best Pokemon are Jumpluff, a Grass type, and Lapras, which, although it's a Water type, because it's in the slow level up group, it's pretty underleveled for this point in the game. It's now been about 3.5 hours since I first got to Elite Four, as long as some of these runs are in total. Jumpluff has slowly been leveling up, as have my other Pokemon. The most important being Haunter, because I have a strategy that should work against Houndoom, but I need Haunter for it. Anyway, you haven't actually seen Murkrow yet, but the strategy isn't fundamentally different. Murkrow doesn't have a flying move, which is kind of nice, so we can use Leech Seed, Confusion strats, and knock it out eventually. Then comes out Houndoom. I put it to sleep, which is good. I use Leech Seed, which is good. It knocks me out, which is bad. Now I send in Smeargle, and this was a Hail Mary. I have Destiny Bond. It doesn't work. Now I send in Crobat. With Leech Seed and Confusion, it's doing decent damage, but unfortunately, none of my other Pokemon can even tank a single Flamethrower. Houndoom does hit itself in Confusion, so it's pretty low on HP, but as we saw, there is a Max Potion. Houndoom is then confused no more, knocks me out, and here is where I need Haunter to level up more. It's actually very close to outspeeding Houndoom, but right now, it doesn't yet, and so we really just have very few options, unless we get a clutch Destiny Bond. And don't forget, there's still Lance after this. All I can do is keep battling and just hope for the best. I'm not even going to really show Umbreon because we've seen it so many times at this point. Gengar comes out next, and I'm going to use a combination of Smeargle, Curse, and Confusion. Thankfully, it cannot hit Smeargle, so just like with Morty, a normal Pokemon completely walls it. Vileplume we've also seen before, since Crobat can wall it pretty well. We can't hit it with Leech Seed, but thankfully we are able to get off Curse and knock it out. Next, Murkrow, who we've seen once before. It can be scary at this point since Jumpluff can be low on health like it is here. Unfortunately, Leftovers isn't available until Kanto. It would be super mega ultra helpful, but I am able to use switching strategies and eventually knock out Murkrow. So, last is Houndoom. I don't put it to sleep, and I lose Jumpluff, but don't worry. Unless it gets a crit, I actually win. Because I have enough Pokemon remaining so that when I use Perish Song, there's nothing Houndoom can do. It's the last Pokemon. We have 3 remaining. Its Perish Song hits 0. And for the first time, oh my god, I'm so happy, I have beaten Karen. But Karen's the second last of the Elite Four. There's still Lance. Oh god, I'm not even going to do a big preamble. Lance is going to be difficult. His Pokemon are a bad matchup. They're higher level. Let's just go. Alright, so I doubt this is going to go well. We're going to lead with Jumpluff. We put Gyarados to sleep. And then we use Leech Seed. So that's pretty good. Now I got to think of who to send in. And honestly, Jumpluff is the best for Gyarados. It goes for Rain Dance as it wakes up. I put it right back to sleep. And thankfully, when it wakes up, it goes for Surf. It's much better than Hyper Beam. Although I believe the AI will only go for Hyper Beam if it's going to knock me out. So that's a good thing. Because since we have Leech Seed, we're actually back to full HP. And we knock out Gyarados at full HP. Now this is likely the Blizzard Dragonite. It is. But thankfully the second Sleep Powder hits. Now I'm a little worried, so I'm going to send in Haunter as opposed to keeping my Jump Bluff in. I use Curse. It's going to be likely a 5-hit KO. Lapras resists Blizzard. I'm going to go for Confuse Ray. Hopefully it wakes up and hits itself in Confusion and we knock it out here. It goes for Hyper Beam and misses, and I was wrong. It's a 4-hit KO. Pretty good. Now this is likely the Thunder Dragonite. We went for Thunder Wave. Confuse Ray does hit, but it was the Thunder Dragonite, and Crobat is lost. Next comes out Smeargle. I try to go for Destiny Bond strats. Oh, it's going to work, because I can just keep spamming Destiny Bond, so when it finally hits me, we knock it out. That works pretty nice. And Lapras levels up. That's pretty cool. Okay, next comes out Aerodactyl, which is a terrible, terrible matchup for Lapras. So we're going to send in Exeggutor. It goes for Rock Slide. I actually survive, but Wing Attack will knock me out. So now we have Jump Bluff. It goes for Rock Slide. I actually do survive again, and I use Leech Seed. Unfortunately, I've lost all my PowerPoint restoring items. It's what I warned you guys about, so we have to make do with what we have. Haunter miraculously has survived the first few attacks and is back to full HP. I could try to go for Curse here, and you know what? I will, even though I might not have to, but I knock out Aerodactyl, and we're really, really close. Just 2 Pokemon remaining. However, after I miss with Hypnosis, Charizard knocks me out, and I can tell that the battle is over. We were very close. I'm out of Sleep Powder. If I had just one more, maybe we could have won. I try to hit with Sing. I miss. I try to hit with Sing again. I miss. And the luck just could not be sustained. But I don't think it's going to take all that long based on how that battle just went. Unfortunately, I was wrong. Lance proved to be pretty difficult, and the biggest reason for this? Each of his Pokemon can one-shot most of mine, and if the luck didn't break exactly right, we would lose the wrong Pokemon, and this is where you realize there are some linchpins on this team. Jump Bluff is the linchpin. Without Jump Bluff, nothing really works, because it can put to sleep and use Leech Seed, which gains back HP. So the ability to immobilize the Pokemon and gain back health is important. Haunter is a linchpin too. Curse knocks things out quickly. Even Smeargle has its role with Destiny Bond. The only useless Pokemon are Exeggutor, which has Leech Seed but is too underleveled, and Crobat, which can just confuse things, but it's very fast. I just battle Lance again and again and again. Yes, I can level up, but it takes forever to level up these Pokemon. I don't even have Toxic. There's so many good moves available to me in Kanto. If only they were available in Johto, but I just have to keep trying. All the while, I'm adjusting my strategy. I've used my PowerPoint restoring items a little differently, so I do have enough for Sleep Powder. I had to take away from a different Pokemon, but it was worthwhile. I can also swap in Haunter to anticipate a normal type attack, which is pretty nice, and then I can use Curse to try and get rid of Gyarados pretty quickly. With Leech Seed, at least we have 2 more Curses available, and with Confuse Ray, even if it wakes up, it might not attack us. So we're at 88 HP. I don't know which Dragonite this is, but I'm able to put it to sleep and hit it with Curse. So now we gotta swap out into what? Well, I decide Exeggutor is the best, because if it wakes up and attacks, oh, it's the Thunder Dragonite. That's actually really good. Then I'm not worried about losing it. It goes for Hyper Beam, which is actually fine, because I get a free turn now. So what am I going to do in that free turn? I'm going to put it to sleep. And then I'm going to use Leech Seed. And that's going to knock out the second Dragonite. Not very bad. So this is probably the Blizzard Dragonite. I put it to sleep. I Leech Seed. Pretty good. Now we're going to swap into Haunter, but it wakes up and hits with Blizzard. That is not good. Like I said, Haunter is a linchpin. It then paralyzes Lapras, but I have the Paralysis Cure Berry since I've been playing this far too much, and I anticipate that. I'm going to swap Jump Bluff back in, which is really risky. I'm going to use Cotton Spore to lower its speed, and I'm going to send Lapras back in. Now, Lapras outspeeds, so when it wakes up, I can go for Sing. Now I'm going to go for Confuse Ray. It hits itself in Confusion. I use Sing, and that's going to knock out the Dragonite. So now what comes out next? I'm not really sure. I've never actually made it this far with this many Pokemon. So it's going to be Aerodactyl. It misses with Rock Slide, and this might be my opportunity. I go for Perish Song, knowing Aerodactyl will swap out, but that's okay. It's still asleep. That means I can swap in Smeargle and do this. I can use Destiny Bond, and now, no matter what happens, Charizard is going to knock me out. An incredibly scary Pokemon I have a terrible matchup against, and Aerodactyl is still asleep. I can now hit it with Cotton Spore to lower its speed. Leech Seed misses, as does Rock Slide. I put it back to sleep, and then I hit with Leech Seed. This is going really well. Unfortunately, none of my Pokemon are good versus Aerodactyl, so I keep Jumpluff in. Rock Slide hits, and I need to put it back to sleep, which I do. I need to keep Jumpluff in, and I need to gain HP back to survive another Rock Slide. That doesn't happen, and that sucks. But those Cotton Spores lowered its speed enough that Lapras can outspeed, and the 55 Sing chance does connect, and now it is both asleep, confused, and slowly losing HP to Leech Seed. I have to use Confuse Ray again. I don't have a lot of power points. Aerodactyl's knocked out, and now there's just one more Pokemon. It's Dragonite, and now I just have to survive. Perish Song 2. Outrage Perish Song 1. If Crobat tanks Outrage, we win. Does it? It does on 29 HP. Crobat, the Pokemon that we've used for the whole run that can just confuse, was the final Pokemon that beat Lance. What a run. Which isn't over. Now, normally I'd show the Kanto gym leaders, but this is getting really long. So just like we do with Rival 4, I'm actually going to skip ahead to the next battle that really does give me a lot of trouble, and that's Blue, the final gym leader of Kanto. It's only taken me about an hour to beat all the other gym leaders, showing you how easy it is because I spent well longer than that on the Elite Four. Blue leads with Pidgeot, and I have a Pokemon that you haven't seen yet, Snorlax. It starts with Swagger, which is a bit of a double-edged sword, and then I go for Rest. Now, I hope Pidgeot hits itself in confusion a bunch of times, but it doesn't, and then I use Sandstorm, knocking myself out. I go into Crobat. Crobat has some new moves, still has Confuse Ray, which is pretty useful. I should note Sandstorm in this generation deals 1/8 as opposed to 1/16, making it a far more effective move. I swap in Haunter, and Sandstorm actually knocks out Pidgeot, which is really good. Next, Rhydon comes out, and I'm going to go for Hypnosis. He actually swaps into Alakazam. Weird. I go for Curse. Alakazam is pretty scary, and I don't really have anything great, so I'm going to swap in Smeargle, and once it stays asleep, I decide, should I swap? Yeah, let's swap into Crobat. We'll try to keep Crobat by using Confuse Ray, and since it doesn't wake up, we actually can use Protect, and Crobat does stick around. Now comes out Rhydon again, and I have to think of what I want to do here. I'm going to keep Crobat in and use Toxic. Rock Slide knocks me out, but I can swap in Smeargle, and I can just use Destiny Bond, which I think I'm going to do. That knocks out Rhydon, and now there are 2 Pokemon remaining, which is unfortunate because Arcanine has a really good matchup against our team. So we do put it to sleep, which is pretty nice, and we do set up Leech Seed, but Blue heals with a full restore. And then we miss, which is a 25% chance. Now it hits. We do put it to sleep with Sing. We do hit with Confuse Ray, but another full restore, so it's woken up again. It hits itself in confusion. We put it back to sleep. And now, while it's asleep, I think about it. I'm going to swap in Haunter. It wakes up, snaps out of confusion, knocks out Haunter. And now we really need Lapras to hit with Sing again, but we miss, and Flamethrower knocks me out. So close, yet so far. I don't want to level up more. I think we can do it. We put Pidgeot to sleep. We use Leech Seed. It wakes up. It uses Leech Seed, which is useless. We put Pidgeot back to sleep. And now I use Cotton Spore. As we saw before, using Cotton Spore is very helpful. I think about swapping out, but Wing Attack isn't too big a deal. We are hit with it. But it's easier to put it to sleep if Jumpluff stays out. So that's what I do. We do have leftovers here, which doesn't do as much as Leech Seed recovery. And once Pidgeot gets to a low enough HP, I can swap in Lapras. Because of Cotton Spore, I can put it to sleep with Sing, and then I can swap Jumpluff back in, further manipulating what's going to come out next, and making this battle just a little bit easier. So Arcanine now comes out second, and that's useful because we can put it to sleep, use Leech Seed. It's the scariest Pokemon, we put it back to sleep, and if we can knock it out here, well, we should be good. I don't want to use Smeargle yet, necessarily. I'm going to try Lapras. It does wake up again, and Flamethrower does a ton to Lapras. Unfortunately, I miss. So I'm going to swap in Snorlax. I'm not giving up on this battle yet. I can go for Swagger. Unfortunately, it gets a crit. Now that it's itself in Confusion, at the very least, it's going to do a lot, but it doesn't, and Extreme Speed knocks me out. Now I go back into Jumpluff, because it's not going to go for Extreme Speed, because I'm a Grass Pokemon. I use Cotton Spore. It's getting pretty close to being knocked out. I then swap Lapras back in. I really want that HP. And thankfully, it doesn't wake up and is knocked out by Leech Seed. Alakazam comes out next. I try to go for Sing, and it works. I put it to sleep. Lapras, though, is on very little HP. Now, I can go for Leech Seed. Alakazam actually outspeeds Jumpluff, one of the first Pokemon to do that. And I think about what to do next. I'm going to need Alakazam to be a little bit slower, so I use 2 Cotton Spores, 3 Cotton Spores. It hits me with Psychic, and I put it back to sleep. Now, I can swap Lapras back in. I forgot to get the second leftovers in Celadon, which is annoying. Lapras is outspeeding Alakazam, which is kind of nice. We've gained a little bit of HP back. Once again, I consider switching, but there's nothing good to switch into. Hopefully, Alakazam cooperates. But it doesn't. It wakes up, it doesn't hit itself in Confusion, and there goes Perish Song. I put it back to sleep with Jumpluff, and we will be at full HP, but we've lost some of our best Pokemon already. Rhydon is out next. I go for Sleep Powder and miss, and Rhydon knocks me out. So we're done, right? Well, I can try to put it to sleep with Haunter, and I can try to go for Curse, but now we're dealing with some pretty low percentage plays here. I don't want to use Destiny Bond yet. I'm going to use Leech Seed. You can see Smeargle has Leech Seed, Destiny Bond, and Toxic. Leech Seed misses. If it hits here and Rhydon doesn't wake up, we knock it out, which is really good. 2 Pokemon left. Hydro Bump misses, and thus Destiny Bond hits. So I wanted Quick Claw. I got the Hydro Bump miss, and now it's interesting. Executor is the last Pokemon. I knock myself out with Curse, and once again, it's up to Crobat. I go for Protect. It doesn't have Psychic. It went for Egg Bomb. No way. I go for Confuse Ray. It doesn't hit itself in Confusion. I go for Toxic, but it does. And now we win. We actually won once again with Crobat. Dude, this Crobat is so clutch. And now we have to face Red, whose Pokemon are double the level of Crobat. So that's exciting. Other than the level 50 Snorlax we caught, our highest level Pokemon is a level 48 Jumpluff, and we're facing off against a level 81 Pikachu. I do put it to sleep and use Cotton Spore, but Red can use full restores, so that's not great. I also have a pretty terrible matchup, since Lapras is usually the Pokemon I use to wall things, and it's weak to Pikachu. Thankfully, Thunder does have a significant chance to miss, and I do set up a Curse with Haunter. I then swap Jumpluff back in, and good news, Thunder does not one-shot Jumpluff, but bad news, it's basically knocked out. And remember how Charizard was kind of difficult when Lance used it? Yeah, well, now we have a level 77 Charizard, and Fire Spin's not too big a deal. But all Snorlax can do, our bulkiest Pokemon, is Sandstorm and Swagger. And don't forget, it gets hit by Sandstorm as well. So I can rest and try to... Oh, well, guess I can't rest. Okay, cool. So Smeargle, get a Quick Claw. No, that's not... Okay. So what are we going to do here? This is not going to work. I need to keep battling Red to learn some strategy. I'm still leading with Jumpluff. Thankfully, Pikachu sometimes inexplicably goes for Charm, so we can put it to sleep and try to get Leech Seed. I'm so glad Sleep Powder is 75 accuracy. If it was 60, if we had to use Hypnosis, this would be terrible. So once again, we use Cotton Spore. We've already learned that we survive a single Thunder, but Snorlax is less useful, so I'd rather it be out. And we're going to use Swagger. Pikachu actually hits itself in Confusion, and since Pikachu's defense is so bad, it knocks itself out. Espeon comes out next. Swagger is pretty good against Espeon since it doesn't really use physical attacks. It hits itself in Confusion, meaning I can use Rest, which is super useful. And then I can use Sleep Talk, and I get Rest again, which is fine. It's hitting itself in Confusion a lot, and that's what I wanted. Sandstorm. We're actually going to knock out the Espeon, it looks like. I used Sleep Talk by accident. We're at 42 HP, but we've knocked out 2 Pokemon. Next comes out Snorlax, and as you may or may not know, this thing cannot hit any ghost Pokemon. It doesn't have anything but normal moves. So, while it's sleeping, I can swap in my Snorlax and try to get... Ah, darn it. I wanted to get Rest to get its HP back. That was unfortunate, but it woke up too quick. So, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to send in Jumpluff. Why? Because I'd like my Haunter to get all its... Oh, snorted a bunch of damage. But I'd like my Haunter to get all its HP back, because that's pretty important. Curse is a useful move. The more I use it, the better it's going to be. So now Snorlax went to sleep, but with Curse and Leech Seed and Confuse Ray, we should be fine. I'm going to use Mean Look just to waste a power point, and we knock out the Snorlax. So now comes out Venusaur, and it pretty much just likes to spam Solar Beam, which is super useful because even though it outspeeds, we put it to sleep, and once again we can use Curse, which is helpful because Venusaur is a grass Pokemon, so we can't use Leech Seed or Toxic. But here's the thing. Because it only uses Solar Beam until it uses Sunny Day, which it just did, we actually can wall it with Crobat using Protect. And we knock it out with Curse. Now out comes the Blastoise. There's only 2 Pokemon remaining. Blastoise goes for Blizzard and misses, and now I go for Sing and put it to sleep. I'm trapped in, but I can go for Confuse Ray. I don't want to go for Perish Song just yet, just because I don't think I want to swap in Charizard. But you know what? I guess it makes sense. The Whirlpool is gone, so I can swap in Haunter. And if I outspeed... Oh, I don't. So that sucks, because I was going to use Mean Look and try to force it to stay in, and then I could have used Smeargle Destiny Bond, and we would have won. That's not going to happen, though. We have to put it to sleep. It withdraws to Charizard, and we miss... Then it hits with Flamethrower, and we're done. Unless we get Quick Claw, we're done. Oh my. Now that is interesting. That is interesting because Lapras walls Blastoise pretty darn well. I'm going to go for Perish Song. Oh my god, Whirlpool. We just need to survive for 3 turns. Okay, try to use Sing. Surf does a ton of damage. Oh no. No. Come on, Crobat. Wait, we protect. Wait, it won again. Crobat again. I can't believe it. It was all Crobat. Oh my gosh. This Crobat is one of the clutchest Pokemon I have ever used in my entire life. And you know what? I got more videos to make, but thank you guys for watching this one. Take care.